We're going to talk about books. It's only every once in a while that you come across people that actually genuinely like reading books and don't just do it for the classes. And we've heard you read a book this summer.
For once in my life.
What was
you
it?
Didn't have to.
It was To Have and Have Not by Ernest Hemingway.
Awesome.
Yeah, I don't really know.
Do you know the book For Whom the Bell Tolls?
Yes, I haven't read it, but like I've heard of it.
Yeah, Metallica's For Whom the Bell Tolls. It's about Ernest Hemingway's book For Whom the Bell Tolls.
But it was actually like really cool, and it was about like how he smuggled, not like him, but like the character in the book smuggled like people back and forth from like Cuba to Key West, and like bootlegged alcohol and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool.
It's pretty sweet. I've read very few books in my life. I read a lot of articles and religious texts, but not very many books. I guess I read the Bible and the Quran because I want to study Islam and Christianity.
I really want to read The Alchemist. I haven't gotten to it yet, but I want to read The Alchemist. And my favorite book that I've read so far is 1984 because that's just a very cool book.
That book is great, but I almost don't like to read it anymore because, like, when you look at it, it's just kind of depressing because you're like, yeah, that's about right.
Yeah, I read it in, like, 8th grade, I think, and it's just a good book.
Here, I'm going to fix some. My OCD's going off.
Okay.
Sorry, my OCD is, like, dying right now.
What is it?
I don't know.
Number one, I have OCD.
What did that?
And this. There we go. They were touching, and I hate that. That, like, freaks me out.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, gosh. I'm a psychopath.
Anyhow. Books.
Still kind of bothering me, but it's okay.
And the nice thing about books is that you can read a book by someone that you really disagree with. And that you hate their opinion and you think it's crap.
A lot of people have
You
read...
can still read the book and appreciate it.
Yeah, a lot of people have read Hitler's book.
Yeah.
What was it called?
Mein Kampf.
How do you say it again?
Mein Kampf.
Mein Kampf. Mein Kampf.
You're just
It sounds
butchering
funny.
it, man.
Hitler. I want to read that book. Like, I want to. If I was a reader, I would read it. But
You know what kills me about that? They ban it in schools.
really?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
And I understand, like, neo-Nazis and skinheads would use that text for bad, but it's important, you know. You should be allowed to read the book in school. I think any book's pretty much kosher except for, like, erotic literature, stuff like that.
Well, and it like puts a lot of insight into like what he thought about, because like if I got the chance to just like have a conversation with him, just like why he thought the way he did, like that, I think that'd be really interesting.
I hate to say this, but I think I'd get along with the guy. Not because I hate Jews, and he
As like a person.
he would understand that I don't hate Jews like he does, and but he did have a view for the future, and he likes space.
So like if you like young Hitler,
Well, any Hitler.
like
Except
World
for-
War One Hitler.
At the end of Hitler, he was very angry all the time, and he'd probably like have me executed for trying to talk to him.
But I do think it would be cool to just like have a conversation with him because I think that he would have some very interesting things to say. And like, not that he was right, but I would be interested to see like what he actually was right about, because there are some things that like he probably did have figured out.
Well,
Sure.
especially if like eugenics, like he had that down to a science.
Everybody's always like denouncing eugenics. I'm like, okay, yeah, it's horrible to make eugenics happen. Voluntary eugenics is the future.
That's like in debate when we're talking about my debate, like you have to lead one yourself. Mine was about eugenics and like possibly implementing it into society to like have a more like, you know, genetically like superior race.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
See, I thought it was a good idea.
You don't
Say
like
something.
eugenics, Blur?
See,
I don't think. What's wrong with it?
the only problem that I have with it is if you make like
It wouldn't
with
be
crops, if you make it all the same and like some kind of parasite comes and like kills everything, that's where I see the negatives. Like if you take out the biodiversity of it, but like in certain aspects, it's better to have it like universal, if that makes sense. So like I see both sides. I think that it could be good, but I don't think it should be like forced, you know.
Yeah.
But I see both sides. I just don't think it's good to like take out biodiversity.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and also it'd be useful for like cutting out like diseases that are like genetically transferred, because like there wouldn't be a chance they'd be transferred to the next person if they're like not really like excluded from like reproduction, but like just, you know,
Mm-hmm.
not passing it down.
Here are my sort of views on eugenics. As far as biodiversity goes, you can orient different regions in a manner that would protect us from that, to make sure immigration and emigration automatically handle that system, so that viruses and new bacteria can't just demolish the entire population. But just imagine everybody'd have like the same ears, and that'd be crazy. You'd be looking on the street, it's like everybody either has lobes or they don't. Wouldn't that be nuts?
Just no earlobes.
Like attached or detached, you know what I mean?
Just none.
Like,
Oh yeah, by the way, these are our first female guests on the show. It took us 7 episodes, and now we have 2 of them on the show. So
2 for 1 deal.
Hooray!
the ratio of women to men on the basement.
Higher than it was.
6, 7, 8, and then 9, 10. We've had 12 people have been featured on the basement, including me and Buster, and 2 of them have been women.
Progress.
By the way, do you guys want to hear an ASMR on the show? I've been wanting to do this.
Sure.
I've been wanting to do that since we got this.
That's so gross, man.
What's your favorite book, Blower?
What's my favorite book?
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to say it. Religious texts are
It's a book.
probably in the Bible, Exodus or Revelation.
Revelation's
that's
crazy.
nuts.
John, the Apostle John. Just
Dude flips
freaking-
out. Like
and what
I
interests
don't know
me,
where he got it.
I think Exodus interests me more though.
Not me.
Like how like the people are starting to say, well, because I heard Joe Rogan talking about this. I know he talks about DMT every 10 minutes, and he asks every one of his guests, "Have you tried DMT?" But about how possibly Moses, how God burned that bush, but it was actually like a specific type of bush that had DMT, and it exposed him to DMT, got him high so he could see God, and like break the barrier between God and human. And
I
like
don't know.
there's like new theories on that, and like the 10 Commandments and the Israelites in Egypt and the blood running down the Nile. It's just the whole thing is awesome. And then Revelation is awesome too, when it talks about demons coming from hell up to earth and like the 7 nations. So crazy stuff. It's awesome.
Listen, as far as Revelation goes, I don't know which side I'd be on, but I want to see it. I want to be part of that. I want a piece of the action.
Could be soon.
It's just
Nah.
insane,
what's-
like the horses and the dragons and everything, like the 7 horses.
It's crazy.
I know. I read part of it and I was just like,
It's
okay.
insane.
It's like
The Bible is a very interesting book.
You know, the book It by Stephen King was fueled by cocaine, and Revelations is even crazier than that book.
Yes.
So what kind of super drug did he take when he wrote that?
The Apostle John. I believe he was on an island, wasn't he? Let me look that up.
Took crazy
I
island
don't know.
drugs.
Wasn't he on an island like by himself? Where was John when he wrote Revelations? It talks about like a new heaven and like crazy stuff, like how like God will recycle heaven into a new heaven, and then like just crazy stuff. Yeah, he was on the island of Patmos, the Greek island of Patmos. He was banished by the Roman authorities to this island where he wrote Revelations.
How'd they get it?
So he was exiled to Patmos, undergoing a time of persecution under the Roman rule of I don't know how to pronounce the word, so I'll just keep going. And during the imperial, I'm trying to find. I don't really know how they would have got it
They just
after
found
being.
yeah, they could have found it.
Just waltz
Yeah.
Oh
upon
my
it.
gosh! After being plunged into boiling oil in Rome and suffering nothing from it, he was banished from. It was in the Colosseum. they threw him into boiling oil,
You know they do that.
and
from
nothing happened. And
head
so they
up.
what? They do it from head up.
Like,
Yeah.
they, like,
Wait, what
dive-
do you
You like
mean?
dive
It's like
in?
a dive. Yeah.
Oh, that's
So like he literally
Not
suffered
good.
no wounds from boiling oil, and they banished him to the island where he wrote Revelation. That's pretty awesome.
I bet they regretted that decision.
They that's this, the Bible's so cool.
It is.
It's awesome. Like the whole thing is just so interesting. I mean, I could read the Bible and like the stories from the Bible and religious texts in general. Like I wrote a report for fun on Hinduism last year, and it was so awesome. Like Hinduism's so cool. Just
There's too much though.
there is a lot. There's a lot to know.
Sure.
And then I like Buddhism too. Buddhism is probably my least favorite of the 5 major
Really?
religions.
That's probably my favorite, man.
Really?
That's how I was thinking. It's probably my favorite.
I like
'Cause it's like
Christianity and then
Buddhism
Islam.
is hardly a religion at all. It's more of a philosophy.
Yeah, it's not really old Buddhism is, but now they worship Buddha. But
Yeah.
before that, it wasn't a religion. Really, it was more of a philosophy.
That's pretty cool.
Reaching nirvana.
You know
I
what,
reach nirvana every day on my phone.
you know what a good text from
That was so
ancient
bad.
Rome was?
Mhm.
Marcus Aurelius's writings.
Hmm.
He was, you ever heard of Stoicism?
Explain.
As a human
Huh?
in the world, you can control very, very little.
Mhm.
Yeah. And people try to make a big deal about it, and they react like, oh Lord, oh no, we're screwed. You don't have to react like that. You can be like, oh, that's stoicism. You can't control a lot of the actions in the world, but you can control your reaction to them. And that's what we need to do.
Hmm.
And don't react to terrorism with fear. And you have to react to it with resilience. And
Like George
Hope.
Bush.
I don't know. I think we failed there. I think we
You
failed.
don't think George Bush did a good job after 9/11?
I think he did a relatively good job.
I
given
think
the
George Bush
circumstances.
did.
But as a society, we did not
I
handle
don't know. We
it
pulled
well.
together pretty. Like, look at you can go to our the shields in our hallway, and if you notice, like the 2 shields after 9/11 are both American flags on them, very united. Like that's how it was, I think, for about a couple years.
But
Like
listen,
if you said the stuff we've said about America recently, about what's been going on back then, they probably would have been pretty mad.
the goal of terrorism is to deface society and to make your enemies change with fear. You know what we did? We changed our society.
Oh, yeah.
And we changed with fear. We did it out of fear, not out of resilience and strength. You couldn't go back then and say, perhaps if you ask Joe Bob Jones, he'd say, no, I did it 'cause I'm angry. Most people would be like, I just couldn't believe it. I was so scared. And that's reasonable, but we don't need to react like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that all started with Marcus Aurelius. He was an emperor, but he didn't act like one. It wasn't necessary to. He was the most, even more than Caesar, and that's saying something. He was the most people-endorsing emperor in the whole Roman Empire. He was a good writer. It still holds up today. A lot of philosophies sort of fall apart, like Aristotle. This stuff doesn't hold up, but
Mm-hmm.
Marcus Aurelius, it's good.
Marcus.